Happy Monday and welcome to Leveling Up Mastery Monday here at EXP University. We're really glad that you could join us. Hopefully you're joining us every Monday because Carrie and I are always here starting us off for the week. If you are watching us live, thank you so much. Make sure that you're liking and subscribing in YouTube, but you can also catch us in the world, and you can also revisit us in the workplace. So
Yes.
you can also leave like chats and like ask us some questions because we love responding and connecting with you guys. And make sure that you're tagging us so that Carrie and I get notified if you drop us a question.
Yes. And find us on Work Chat. Don't hesitate to reach out if we can bring you any value or guide you in the right direction. We're happy to do that for you and happy to be part of your Mondays. So I'm excited for this topic.
Yes.
You and I have talked about this a few different times. We used to do a series on Facebook, and this is one of our probably best watched episodes, if you will, because it's so true. And it's just a really cool way of thinking about, I think, life in general, as well as business. So let's jump right into it.
Yes. So today we're going to be talking about being a goldfish. And this is my favorite conversation because it's so quirky and fun. And this concept comes from Ted Lasso. If any of you are watching Ted Lasso, it's amazing. I know that there's a huge following for the show. But if you're not watching it, I highly recommend that you do because it's such a humbling and beautiful show. And there's a lot of leadership lessons to be learned from the show. Mm-hmm. And so being a goldfish is actually a quote that Ted Lasso says in it. And so today our conversation is going to be around this leadership topic. So here's the quote that he says. Are you ready, Carrie?
I'm ready.
It's Carrie, you know what the happiest animal on earth is?
No, what is it, Haley?
It's a goldfish. And he says, you want to know why?
Why?
It's because a goldfish has a 10-second memory. So be a goldfish.
I love it.
And
I was making a goldfish face a minute ago. You didn't see it, Haley, but the people watching did. I actually took a picture about this when I did a video on social, and it was a picture of me with goldfish lips because, when you and I had this conversation a while back, you were like, Carrie, that's it. You're a goldfish. I was like, I am a goldfish.
Yes. Carrie, okay. If any of you don't know Carrie on a personal level, or in business, she has such an amazing capacity for being able to transition into what she needs to do really, really quickly without letting anything bother her. She just goes for it. And I remember, Carrie, when you and I first started collaborating and working together, I was, a lot more timid than I am now. And Carrie would be like, just do it. Just show up and just do it. And I'm like, well, Carrie, what if these 900 things go wrong? And she's like, and what if they don't? Yeah. So let's just dive in, have a good time, and we're just going to see where this goes. And so I think that this is a great conversation to have, especially in this market. Mm-hmm. What does it mean by what Ted Lasso says? Well, he's talking about being able to let go of the things that you can't change. Mm-hmm. Right, Carrie? Mistakes are going to happen, mishaps are going to happen. Yeah. But when you can very, very quickly move on from that, you can actually move forward faster in your business and in your personal life. We definitely don't want you dwelling on anything. So before we get further dive in, I do want to say this is an article from Inman that Carrie and I are referencing today. So if you are interested in getting the article, please reach out to me on Workspace. I'll send you that link. You do have to have a subscription to Inman to read it, but it's a really great leadership article. So yeah. Carrie, how does this quote about being a goldfish, how does this relate to real estate business? Let's break it down.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we read this article and then you and I talked about it and then we were joking around like, oh my gosh, I am a goldfish. I didn't realize it. I mean, it is so true. And it is a learned behavior. I evolved you guys into a goldfish over time. I wasn't born this way. I was born a human.
You had the strengths already and you just easily stepped into doing this. But you're right. It took lessons learned for you to be able to say, hey, these are old conditioning behaviors and beliefs that no longer serve me. But having this 10-second memory and moving on from, we'll get into this, but the good thing and the bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the thing is I mean, if you find yourself reminiscing in the good times, often if you find yourself remembering when your team was like in this great flow and you just reference it all the time and talk about it, that's just as detrimental as if you're hung up on a failure that happened that isn't allowing you to move forward, because neither of them are allowing you to move forward, because the reality is the past is the past and you can't recreate it perfectly regardless. And you shouldn't want to. That was a time and place and space for that. And it's not anymore because that time has passed. But I think the biggest thing is that, you know, I also did another episode for a different podcast. It's like, you just have to be a doer, but the way you can get yourself to do and to execute quickly and often and all the time is to have that short-term memory, to force yourself to just literally like get it out of your brain. Like just, it doesn't even exist anymore. It really, truly doesn't matter. And one of the things you have to realize is that a failure from the past has nothing to do with who you are today and what your next experience is going to look like. I mean, it really is a totally separate situation. So we can't necessarily just assume because I was a failure of this one time and this one thing didn't work, that automatically, if I try something again, it's not going to work, because you're a different person. The time is different. The market's different. The people you're working with are different. Nothing is the same. Therefore, that's just not a true fact. And so being a goldfish is training your brain to not remember anything and not care, not the happiest of times and not the worst of times, because they were what they were, but today is today and there's going to be something new. And the absolute only thing that will create success in your life is getting yourself into some action. And so when Haley and I started working together, and I think it was refreshing for her because I wasn't like worried about the result. I didn't care. Right. I was like, just try it, Haley, and let's just see what happens. And then if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we'll figure it out. And that empowered her to not have to be so worried about the outcome. And I think that if you surround yourself with people that think like that, it is going to be a lot easier for you to start thinking like that. Because if you're around people that are worried about the result all the time and overthinking, then you're going to move in that path too. So that would be my biggest suggestion. If we break it down, letting go of things you can't change or have control over, or things of the past, is the number one part of the be a goldfish. It's easier said than done. But if you make a decision and have a conscious effort to just realize that it is what it is, nothing's good or bad, it just just happened, and you have a next new opportunity to try again. It's just an attitude that you have to adopt. And it's not easy to push yourself into action sometimes, but the more you do it, it definitely gets easier.
Absolutely. Well, so many people are going to be really upset that I'm going to say this, but this actually reminds me of sports. My husband is obsessed with the Cubs, and it reminds me like when they won the championship in 2016, they won the World Series, and he was like, emotional, like him and his dad were really emotional about it. And yet, you know, nothing has come to fruition since 2016. And so I'm like, can we just like move on? And he's like, no, like they're just like people who are into sports. They're just so connected emotionally to their sports team. I personally don't understand that. And I'm sorry if I offended anyone. Like, go Cubs. Like, that's great. But yes, there are so many things that we cannot control, and we have to be able to let go of the things that we don't have control over. Absolutely. But you mentioned something else, Carrie, which is not being emotionally attached to what happens. And yes, you need to surround yourself with like-minded leaders who are going to lead you in that way, especially if you have come from a previous partnership or business arrangement, or you've worked with a leader who attaches the outcome to their own value and worth. Like, is that not the most toxic thing that you could do for yourself? You are not your business. Your business is a reflection of you and how much you can grow. But what happens is your business, or even if you're an admin, there are things that we can't control. And yet what I work on with a lot of the admin that I coach now is that we want to be committed to the result, but detached from the outcome, meaning we cannot be emotionally attached. It's not a reflection of who we are as a human being. The market shifts. There are going to be limitations on platforms that we're using. There are going to be problems that we just don't have the capacity to solve because a lot of times they're unsolvable. So
Mhm.
we have to be able to take a different route, and we have to be in our solution mindset. But right, Carrie, we don't want to be attached emotionally to
Yeah,
something
if
because
we're
it's toxic.
Yeah, if we're attaching ourselves to it, that's where we can't let go of it. That's where it affects us moving forward. That's where we're too embarrassed to try again. Or we are like, oh, I'm not going through that experience again. I'm not going to let people think I'm a failure again. Well, first of all, people don't think you're a failure. Most of the time, most of the things we think people think about us aren't true.
Yeah.
They have their own issues they're dealing with in life and their own problems. And so, I had a coach tell me one time, and it was actually a really good thing. This might help you to let go of the attachment is, if you think all these people are really overanalyzing you and your business, you're thinking way too much of yourself, because people aren't just sitting there spending their whole life thinking about you.
No, they're thinking about themselves just like you're thinking. It's like when you go to the gym, how many times, like, I'm sorry, I'm like using like so many different references, but all these things just keep coming to me. It's that kind of a morning. When you're at the gym, how many times, Carrie, are we, especially I think as women, we're afraid to work out at the gym because we don't want people watching us. We don't want people looking at us. We don't want to feel judged. The reality is that people see you there, but they're not watching you. They're having the same insecurities.
Yes.
Right.
They're
So,
literally focusing on how they look and what other people are thinking about them.
oh,
And
100%.
so the reality is no one's caring about you. You just are.
So the third thing we want to talk about with this is that nothing lasts. And I hate to say this, but that means the good times too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the truth. It is the truth. Nothing lasts, good or bad. It's actually our ego that wants us to focus on both good things and bad things, right? So,
Yeah.
Carrie, tell us a little bit about your experience with letting go of both good things and bad things, and how can we do that so effectively like you do?
Yeah, well, because I mean, sometimes people get confused. Well, why do I have to let go of the good times? Maybe that motivates me. I have a lot of coaching clients say that. The problem with that is that our brain actually changes the way that we remember things from a scientific perspective. It's something that's remember it as even better than it was. And the reason the egoic part of the brain does that is because it's trying to get you to feel good, right? Remember, the egoic part of the brain used to try to protect us from all of the harm that we could be in our way. Much of it was actual external physical harm when we were trying to go find food and we were in danger. And it has evolved over time to be an emotional protection. And,
Right.
And so it wants us to constantly be in a state of feeling happy and good. And therefore, it's actually going to change the way we remember everything. It's going to make the good be remembered better than it was. And it's going to make the bad be remembered worse than it was, period. It happens. And so one of the most fundamental things that shifted with me and probably helped me become more of a goldfish in this manner is that I learned that my brain already changes the way it remembers it. And then I learned if that was the case, I could actually choose how to remember it. So I would rather you, if you're going to hold on to something good, choose to remember it for something that's going to motivate you in a way, but not that's going to hold you back in not wanting to change, not wanting to move forward and just stay
Or evolve. Yeah.
Safe space. Also for the bad, quite frankly, if it's going to make you think it was worse than it was worse, and you can change it and remember it for something that gave you a lesson that's going to make you a better human being, and it was for a reason, it wasn't for nothing that you went through that, then you actually are going to pull a lot of motivation and confidence out of that. And it all stems from how you remember it. In fact, the book said, and it's a psychologist that wrote the book, it doesn't matter what happened in your past as much as how you decide to remember it. And that is fundamentally true. It doesn't matter what actually happened. It's what our brain is doing to us in relation to what happened, good or bad. So you've got to realize that you can make active choices in that instead of getting stuck in a spot, good or bad, that is no longer serving you and is not letting you move forward, because it means you're not evolving at all. Remember, if we aren't moving forward, we're always moving backwards because we can't stay in the same spot. Your world is either expanding or it's shrinking. That is the law, the scientific law. Like, there is no standing still. There's no actual, they use the idea of a ballerina. It looks like they're just standing on their tiptoes. And when you zone in, they're moving back and forth constantly. There has to be movement. So you are moving, even if you think you're not. So be careful if you're moving forward or backward. And that's where people get really stuck, is that they stay in these moments and they're not making active choices or taking action to do something different. So I think it becomes, Haley, and we've talked about this, it's all about awareness. We have to understand our brain is doing this to us first and foremost, and then we have to decide we're not going to let it. We can stop letting our brain do that, and we can make the choice. And if you do it often enough, it becomes a trained brain, and your brain will just do it. At this point, do I actually ever think about moving past a memory? It doesn't even enter my mind anymore.
Right.
It moves in and out so fast. I literally don't skip a beat. But it wasn't like that at first. I used to have to force myself uncomfortably to do it, because what I knew to be truth was that if I sat there and wallowed in it, I would go backwards. What I knew I had to do was move forward in some way, shape, or form, and I had to get myself to do it. And I will just tell you one thing, and then you can move to number 4, Haley, is one strategy, because I'd love you guys to take away a strategy, is when something, most of the time for me, I didn't get hung up on the good. Like, I would celebrate it, but my personality is more like, I don't want to celebrate a good thing too long, because it feels like, I don't know, because I'm a type A personality. So it's like, okay, what's next? So that wasn't as hard for me. It was definitely more like the failures or an embarrassing moment, or, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Or somebody just left my organization and now I feel like, I'm crushed. Or it was those things that were harder for me to get through. And I think that is true for most. And so when you get rejected, when you embarrass yourself, or you think you did, or when you're not living up, or you're failing in some way, what you have to force yourself to do, and this is a conscious decision I made, is that I would say, okay, to myself, what can I do right now that will combat this failure? Like, in other words, I feel like crap because this team just left my brokerage. Who can I go recruit now that's going to join my brokerage? Because it would make me feel like, hey, I did something good alongside something that wasn't good.
Right. And you're taking massive action. You're taking massive action in doing it. This actually reminds me a lot of something that Tony Robbins says. He says, nothing in this world has any meaning except for the meaning that you give it.
Yep.
And so what meaning are you giving any event in your life? I loved how you said, Carrie, it doesn't matter what actually happened.
Yeah.
What matters is how you remember it. Because, that's just so mind blowing. I'm just going to hold on to that for
Literally,
my next
it blew my
coaching
mind
club.
when I heard it. It was a defining moment for me when he said that to me. It was actually an interview I did. If you go, the book is Personality Isn't Permanent, with Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He's a psychologist. He's written multiple books that many realtors read. The Gap and the Gain is a new one, and he typically co-writes with other people, and he brings the psychological perspective. But I actually had a chance to interview him on Facebook. We did a Facebook Live together, and he said that, and it literally blew my mind. Because it is so true. Like, everything that's happened to you, if you choose to remember it a different way, which why wouldn't you? Because your brain already changes it anyway. Your brain does not remember it accurately. And he said that. He's like, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So why don't you just decide how you're going to remember it then? It literally makes the difference between somebody who goes through something bad that becomes a success story of overcoming and helps other people, or the person that perpetuates that and drives themselves into the ground.
Well, I like that it's an active choice. Like, you're actively choosing consciously how you are going to interpret, because that is something that we can control. We said earlier that we have to be able to let go of the things that we can't control. We cannot control the things that happen around us, but we certainly can make an active choice in how we interpret and internalize the things that people say, the things that people do, the actions. We can only control that, how we internalize something. And then what is the impact that we want to leave? What's the wake that we want to leave in our relationships, in our business, which actually brings us to really the fourth thing that we wanted to talk about today, was learning and growing.
Yeah.
So this is just a great segue. When you are able to, Carrie, let go of the good and the bad, you let go of trying to control things, which I know as an entrepreneur is very hard.
Yep.
I see this so much in entrepreneurs, especially when they hire a new employee, especially someone who's in admin or in operations, or someone who's going to be helping leverage you or force multiply you. Letting go of control is really hard.
Yeah.
But the reality is, Carrie, what did we just say? We don't really have control over anything anyways, except for ourselves.
That's right.
So how, Carrie, can, once we're able to let all of this go, how do you how would you say that someone would learn and grow from this?
Yeah. It's again a conscious choice. I'm going to learn from it, and then I'm going to push myself into massive action, because that's actually how I grow. If you don't get yourself into action, it doesn't matter if you learn something from it. You're not growing through it because you're not doing anything about it. So
Right.
I would actually just force myself. I mean, I didn't even get myself to really, I guess I did learn, because let's just say it is an example for what I actually learned. This skill was when I grew the brokerage, and there was a lot of learning and growth that I needed to go through as a leader in that time. And one of the most devastating things for me was when people would leave, because I put so much time and energy into bringing them into our organization, pouring into them. And it was a personal hit, as well as a professional hit, as well as a financial hit, and letting a lot of people down if somebody would leave our brokerage. And I carried that burden as the leader of the brokerage. And so it was a very hard thing for me to get over, but I would very quickly assess the situation. And usually I knew someone was going to leave, or I kind of had a feeling, and then I would have an exit interview. And so what I would internalize that information, but I would internalize it quickly, because here's the deal, you guys, you know what you know, you're just overthinking it. So I knew pretty quickly why it didn't work out. There was always a part that I had some responsibility for, and the brokerage had responsibility for, and there was always a part that they had responsibility for. It's just how it works in life. And also there was a better fit for our brokerage than, for some people than others, because of personality, because of behavior,
Right.
because of goals, whatever it might be. And every time somebody left, I learned a little bit more about that, and I internalized it. And so what I would do in my brain is I would literally say out loud or to myself why it didn't work out, what my responsibility was, and what I needed to figure out and change. I'd write a note down about something that maybe we'd want to optimize in the brokerage if I had felt like there was something there. And usually there was. And I would go talk to the staff about it. But I would take that responsibility and I would put that into action, and usually through my staff. That had to be an action, and I would feel good that we were taking something that came out of this and we did something different with it to mitigate that moving forward. And then number two, I would go and literally make calls to recruit more people. And what I would do is I would say to myself, I know who is a good fit. I'm going to look for those people that are a better fit than this person. This person wasn't a fit. It sucks, but I'm going to go find 5 more people that are. And
Right.
I would literally get myself into calling, and I would use that disappointment and frustration to get me into action and to do something good. And I can tell you, it was extremely therapeutic. And usually by the time I left that day, I felt completely at peace with what was going on. There were times where it lingered a little bit, but I just got into action. And I think, you guys, the action you take is actually going to make you feel better about what happened. The problem is we sit and overanalyze it and don't get into action, and it perpetuates the negative feelings.
Right. It's like we sit stagnant. Yeah, we sit stagnant, which is, again, really just a toxic behavior. And sometimes we withdraw or we get angry.
Yeah.
And so really, I think the most important lesson to be learned in this, and I really hope that you guys can, I even have printed this out before, and I've had it like sitting on my desk, because I think it's just such a fun quote. And I just love Ted Lasso. But I think that the biggest lesson to be learned here is that we don't want to dwell on anything, because nothing lasts, the good or the bad. And we just want to take it all in stride, and we want to keep going. We want to keep learning, because it's about the impact. It's about the impact that we have the ability to make. But you can't step into the best version of yourself if you're constantly trying to move forward, but you're always looking in the rearview mirror. That is the biggest lesson here.
Yeah, so go be a goldfish. Tell your kids to be a goldfish. It's a great lesson. It's a great analogy to share with your kids when they get stressed out about a friend thing. And, again, nothing does last. I mean, sounds kind of morbid in a way. Nothing lasts, good or bad. But in reality, it's exciting, because it just means that nothing is going to last. Enjoy the journey.
Right.
Don't
There's
worry
more
about
opportunities.
it. Yeah. Awesome. I love this conversation. I think it's amazing. Thanks for having it with me, Haley. And we hope it helped you guys a lot.
Yeah, you guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week.
My friends, be a goldfish. I love it. I love it. Well, hello, my little goldfish friends. My name is Alyssa Specht. I'm with eXp University. And that was Carrie and Haley. They are with us every Monday, and I loved that. That was such a valuable lesson. So I hope you got that same value as I did. So we're going to keep on rolling today, my friends. And what I'm going to ask you to do right now is I'm going to ask you to go ahead and give this video a like. But the second thing I'm going to ask you to do is I want you to just think for a second, and maybe even put something in the chat. Maybe put something in the chat. how are things going in your market right now? It's definitely a strange time in real estate. That's for real. We all know that. So how are things going in your market right now? Type something in the chat and let me know. And what we're going to give you next is something that's going to help you out in a shifting market, in a strange market. So coming up next, we've got Michael Collier, who's going to tell us the 3 must-haves for success in a shifting market. So let's toss it over to Michael Collier.
Everybody, it's your guy Mike Collier in Orlando, Florida, and I'm so excited to be presenting to you the 3 must-haves for success in your real estate market or in your real estate business during a shifting market. There's so much going on. I'm going to be discussing and helping you to navigate through what's happening in the world. I mean, in the world of real estate, we're seeing a market that's very different than what it was only 5 to 6 months ago. But we're also seeing, it's a crazy political season and the gas prices are high and economics are changing. And there's so much, this looming recession that everybody is talking about. And I'm sure if you're like most agents, you're wondering, where do I fit in on this? I mean, is real estate the right choice for me? What should I be doing to make sure that I can guarantee myself success as this market begins to shift? Because you want to be one of the ones still standing when all of the smoke clears. So I'm going to help you with that, but I want to give you a little bit of an update about who I am and why I'm talking to you today. So again, I'm down here in sunny Orlando, Florida, but I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. I started with EXP in January of 2019, and I'm proud to say that I am now an EXP icon. And so I hit icon last year. That was my first time hitting it, but I plan to hit it every single year from that point. I've already capped this year and I'm already on my race to icon yet again. And I did a lot of that. I've had a lot of that success by using these tried and true methods that I'm going to talk to you about today. I should also say that when I first started, it was a very rocky start. I almost ended up in bankruptcy. And in the same year that I was about to file for bankruptcy and actually sat down with that bankruptcy attorney, I ended up making more money than I had in most recent years. And the next year ended up hitting icon. So there was a mindset shift. And I'm going to share with you exactly what I did so that you can begin to do the same thing in your business. Ready, set, let's go. All right. So I want to talk to you about the big 3. The big 3 is what I call mindset, market, and mechanics. All right. Mindset, market, and mechanics. Now, when I talk about mindset, that's obvious. What are you thinking? What does that look like to have the right mindset? And I know you hear so many people talk about mindset. Everybody's talking about, it's like a buzzword, mindset, right? All these coaches on mindset, but what does it really mean? Do you have the right mindset? And how do you prime yourself to have the right mindset? I'm going to help you with that today. We're also going to talk about the market. What do you need to know about the market? Where do I go to get some of this information about the market? So it's not just so much the market, but we're going to talk about market awareness. And then lastly, we're going to talk about mechanics. What are some of the things that you could be doing, just going back to the basics, to build a very strong foundation that allows you to build your base and then begin to scale upon that? So let's get into the market first, or the mindset first. Again, with mindset, it's very, very important to know that how you start is how you finish. Okay. Now, I know that's a little bit of a turn on what you normally hear. It's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. Well, I tend to disagree with that in this instance. When we're talking about mindset, it's definitely about how you start, because how you start has everything to do with the first thing that starts every single day. The first thing that starts is when you wake up and your eyes pop open, your mind starts going. Have you ever woken up and as soon as your eyes open, or even maybe before your eyes even open, you start thinking about all the things that you got to do today, all the stuff that you have to do, the phone calls that you still have to make, the phone calls that you didn't make yesterday, the things that you still have to do, whether it's your wife, your husband, whoever it is, your spouse, your kids, all of the things. Oh man, there's so much going on. How do I handle all of these things? Well, the first thing that I would tell you to do is find some time for yourself. Wake up before the rest of the house wakes up. So this is my first tip to you. find some silence. Wake up before the rest of the house. Maybe you wake up around 6, 7, 8 o'clock. Well, the problem, and I can tell you in my house, is that by 7:15, 7:30, the whole house is up. Kids got to get ready for school. And by 8 a.m., we got to have them dressed, fed, and out of the door. And so if I'm waking up at 7 o'clock and waking the kids up by 7:15, that doesn't leave me much time to myself. That doesn't allow me to work out some of the things in my head and maybe write some things down or just stay in the silence that I need in order to get my mindset right before I charge into the day. And so here's what I would tell you. Wake up a bit earlier. It's been said that people who wake up earlier, there's something called the 5 a.m. club. Some of you probably belong to the 5 a.m. club. Some of you, when I say waking up at 7 a.m., you're like, 7 a.m.? Gosh, I'm already up for 2 hours by then. That's me. I typically wake up by 5 or 5:30. Was I always doing that? No. But what I realized is that if I want to get ahead in life and in business, there's some things that I got to figure out before I take on the day. See, because if I don't plan the day already has plans for me. If I don't plan what it's going to look like as I traverse through the day, all of the things, all the phone calls and the emails and all the stuff, I become responsive and reactive to whatever the day is bringing to me versus setting my intention on what I will do with the day. And so for me, that starts with having silence and going into a place of gratitude, just being thankful. Did you know that you cannot share gratitude and fear at the exact same time? The human mind cannot grasp fear and gratitude at the exact same time. So make some time every single morning to choose to be in gratitude. What are you grateful for? A couple other things I want to talk about in regards to mindset. Go into the mindset, as we are, of course, in this real estate industry together, go into this mindset knowing that there is a buyer for every home. I heard a story recently of an agent up in Georgia. She was telling this story about she had this listing, and she was really concerned with this listing because the listing backed up to one of the busiest highways in Atlanta. I mean, the cars and the trucks were swooshing by, and it had this beautiful back patio. But when you go out to the back patio, she said she could actually feel the wind rushing from the traffic as it was coming in. And when she first walked into the house for this listing, she's like, oh my gosh, what is that sound? Because it was the humming of the vehicles outside. And so when you go outside, obviously you can hear it even more. And it's like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to sell this home? So she got the listing. She started marketing it. She started getting some showings. Buyers were coming in, and the buyers, all of them said, it's too loud. There's no way in the world I'd be able to enjoy this. I can hear all the traffic passing by, and everything else is beautiful. The house is beautiful. Everything is so well done. It's great. And then she gets a call from an agent who says, hey, we're going to be making an offer. My buyer absolutely loves it. And she goes, did your buyer see the property? She said, yes, absolutely. She saw it. Absolutely loves it. Okay, great. Well, send it over. Comes over, full price offer. All the terms that they needed to see were there. Perfect. They get to the closing table, and come to find out the buyer was deaf. Couldn't hear a pin drop. And so the buyer absolutely loved the house and could care less about the noise of the traffic. I simply say that to say to you that where there is a will, there is a way, and there is a buyer for every home. So as you navigate through this market, understand that people aren't just throwing money at homes anymore. We're beyond that. That was 6-7 months ago, maybe 18 months ago. That was a thing where people were spending much more money than they probably should for some of the homes. We're not there anymore. So now you just got to get resourceful. Tony Robbins says, and I love this quote, Tony Robbins always says that people don't fail due to lack of resources. People fail due to lack of resourcefulness. So how resourceful are you? How are you going to manage the day rather than the day managing you? And then let's talk about the market, the second M. The market has changed. as you've probably seen, if you have any listings right now, it might be staying on the market a little bit longer. Maybe you're seeing buyers offering a little bit less. Maybe you are a buyer's agent and you're taking a lot of buyers around, and the buyers are getting a little bit more picky. And maybe even the buyers aren't as qualified as they were a while back. I mean, let's face it, it seemed like every home was getting snatched up by a cash buyer only a few months ago. Now we have buyers who are just getting approved and they have just enough money in the bank or cash reserves in order to get approved and pre-approved, and now they're ready, and they are in that $225,000 price range. Now I'm in Orlando, so that's not much in Orlando, but if you're in a market that's, you know, average price point of $100,000, $150,000, then 225 gets you something different than what it can get you here. But they're picky. They're willing to wait for the right home now. And so how are you marketing and staying up on the trends? How are you advising these clients on what they should be doing, whether or not this is the right pick for them, if this is the right home for them, how much they should be considering making an offer for in this home? Well, there's a few things. One, when it comes to the market, again, I like to talk about market awareness. You should know what's happening in the national market, housing market, as well as your local market. It is essential for you to know from a macroeconomic standpoint what's happening in the housing market, as well as that microeconomic standpoint, being hyper-local about what's happening in your local housing market, whether that be your subdivision, your community, your city, your state, your region, okay? So how do you find that information out? Well, one of my trusted sources that I absolutely love is Keeping Current Matters. KeepingCurrentMatters.com. Check them out. I think it's still at $25 a month for a subscription to them. They give you national news on what's happening. They have wonderful infographics that you can use in your social media. There's blogs that are written every single day. And if you have a website, there's a feed where you can actually, the RSS feed, where it can actually feed their blogs onto your website. I have it set up to my KV Core website. There's a way to do it. And so now there's a blog that I can now send clients or leads. I can send them a link to my blog site, and there's a new blog every single day. And it talks about what buyers should be doing, what buyers should be considering right now, what sellers should be considering right now. It talks about what's happening in the housing market, what's happening in the mortgage interest rates. And it's also geared towards real estate agents. So there's an agent learning portal that's there. Now, this isn't a commercial for Keeping Current Matters, but it's something that I use, and it allows me to stay up on what's happening. I also enjoy Inman. That's INMAN. You guys may know that there's an Inman conference every single year. One just happened, and our own Veronica Figueroa of the FIG team down here in Orlando. She is just an absolutely amazing leader. She has spoken at Inman a few times, but she actually spoke at this one as well. And so we have some of our own EXP leaders who are stepping onto those stages and educating agents on what's going on. So you can subscribe to Inman and get those articles and read and stay up on what's going on a national level as well. But as far as local information, where do you get your local market information from? How do you become aware of what's happening in your local market? Well, one, you should be looking on your MLS, and on your MLS, it will show you how many, and you can set the radius of where you want it to see, but you can set that radius as to how many homes just hit the market in the last 3 days, 7 days, 15 days, whatever you want to set it for. I typically am looking at whatever that happened in the last 3 to 7 days. How many homes are hitting the market? How many homes have gone pending? How many homes have sold? How many price reductions there have been in your local market? Why is that important? Because you're going to be able to understand what this shift actually means. My question to you is, are we still in a seller's market, or is this now a buyer's market? To me, the answer is yes. Right? I mean, we're somewhere kind of in between. We're not yet in a buyer's market. This is still very much a seller's market, but this is a different seller's market than it was only a few months ago. Some of the stuff that you could do with listings back then and homeowners were able to do with their sales price even only a few months ago is not flying now. Now is not the time to get cute when you take a listing. Now is not the time to allow your homeowner, your seller, to dictate to you what the price of their home should be. That's your job. And so when you sit down in that listing consultation, you should be asking the question, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear, or do I have permission to tell you what you need to hear? Because I am not in the job. I'm not in the role of listing your home. I don't care to just list your home. Mrs. Homeowner, my job is to sell your home. So do you want me to simply list it, or do you want me to get it sold? That's the questions. These are the conversations that you have to have right now. So when it comes to marketability, what does that look like? How are you positioning these listings right now? Well, again, pricing is one of them. You can't get cute. What does the competition look like? Are there any other homes in the area, in that neighborhood, similar homes in that community that are on the market right now? Because if there are, then understand that you're not the only game in town. When you take that listing, what your seller won't do, the other seller may be willing to do. Your seller won't give any closing costs back, buyer closing cost contributions. That's fine. Maybe the other seller will. And so it's not a race to the bottom just yet, but it does come with helping to shift the mindset of your client, your homeowner, your seller, helping them to frame what their mindset and expectations should be once that house goes onto the market and what they should expect to see. So pricing, competition. Another thing about marketability of homes you should be considering right now that we didn't have to consider only a few months ago, staging. I would say that if you're taking a listing right now, if it is, whether it's occupied or it's vacant, you should consider staging. Now, who bears the cost? Well, typically it's the seller that bears the cost. Is it expensive? No, it's typically not expensive. Relatively speaking, there's some kind of stat that shows that a staged property, whatever it costs for you to stage a property, you typically get a return of at least 2x that amount. 2x to, I've seen as far as much as 3x. So if it costs $3,000 to stage a home, then the seller could actually expect to sell their home for $6,000 to $9,000 more. So not only do they recoup that cost, but the house sells faster because guess what? It looks really good in photos rather than you posting photos on the MLS of a completely vacant home, or that staged home, even if it's occupied by a family that lives there, many times it needs to be decluttered. Many times the placement of books and plants and furniture, just moving it around and shifting it just in the right place. Maybe there's a bare wall that could use some artwork there. Light staging is all that's sometimes needed, but it goes so far. And we are now in a position to where you have to set your sellers up for success. You want more listings? You start doing this stuff, not only do you win that listing, but you also, when you're sharing this in your listing consultations, you let them know that this is part of what you do. You're going to bring in your stager, so partner with the stager. You're going to bring in your stager and do a listing consultation, provide a free listing consultation or a staging consultation for them. Usually my stager charges me $75 to do a staging consultation. I cover that out of my cost. I don't have the seller pay for that. So for them, it's free. But now when they get that staging advice, they usually take that advice, and we are usually selling that house much faster than any of the other competition. So not only do you sell it for the price that you want, but you're also able to sell it faster. It looks better in photos. And now you're going to put those photos on your marketing and go out and get more listings because of what you were able to do with that listing. So stop sending out just sold postcards. Instead of just saying just sold, not only is it just sold, but here's what we did to get it sold. What about that? So my third and last M is mechanics. The big key. You need to know what you're doing in this market. I don't care if you're new. You just got started in real estate. Great. Guess what? There's a whole university available to you. All the information that you could almost ever need. Videos after videos after videos. There's rabbit holes that you can go down on pricing and staging and all the things that you would ever want to know. One is EXP University. The other is YouTube University. YouTube it, Google it. If you don't know something, you should be curious enough to be resourceful in finding that information out. Don't wait until it's given to you in a silver platter and say, well, I didn't know. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know that that was a thing. Tuning into messages like this that you're hearing right now, that you're watching right now, this is how you do it. This is how you advance your business further than the person that's standing still. Because guess what? If you're not growing, you're dying. In business, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so what does it look like to be standing still? Well, guess what? Someone who's standing still in their business is dying. Their business is moving backwards. Your growth makes it look like they're on a treadmill going the other way. And so don't be that person. Step in, select a niche. What if you were to select a niche? One of the biggest things that I see from a lot of real estate agents is that they feel they have to do it all. I mean, they want to do everything. They want to take listings. They want to be luxury agents. They want to help first-time home buyers. They want to do military relocation. They want to do new construction. They want to do, and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying that you can't do it. But what I'm telling you is you could go a lot further, a lot faster if you were to put some blinders on and just say, you know what? I'm going to select new construction. New construction is going to be my niche. I'm going to learn more about new construction. I'm going to learn about new home starts that's happening around the nation, but also what's happening in my local area. I'm going to find out all the builders. I'm going to go visit all the builders and get to know sales reps personally. I'm going to create relationship with them so that not only do I know of homes that are coming onto the market as they begin to release new lots, but I might also know about a home that is about to fall out of contract because the buyer that went under contract with that house, their financing fell through. They've decided to change their mind. I want that phone call from that sales rep saying, hey, Mike, we got a buyer who's about to fall out of contract. It's very similar to that last one that you for that buyer that you brought over. Let me know if you got somebody for it. That's what you want. You want the bat phone ringing for you, but it starts with those relationships. And so when you select a niche, you're able to kind of select and be intentional about the relationships that you want to pursue. Whether you're working with seniors or you're working with military, whatever else, the same is true. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get business in these other areas, but it does mean that whenever somebody brings up new construction, or if somebody brings up senior homes, if senior active communities, if whatever it is, you want your name to be ringing bells in their head. I know exactly the person to call. Okay. So be more intentional, select a niche, and improve your skill set. Again, right now, we are in a season of skill. The agent who knows what they are doing more so than the other agents who are out, let's just face it. Most agents don't know what they're doing. This is why most agents are only selling 1 to 3 homes a year. On average, I think the average is 5 homes a year around the nation. And now that the market is starting to slow down a little bit and it's a little bit harder for some of these buyers to get approved because rising interest rates and all that kind of stuff, it might be even lower. By the end of this year, we'll see. But who do you have to become in order to be the agent who is excelling in this industry? Who do you have to become in order to become a capper? In order to cap at EXP or hit icon at EXP, or to be that luxury listing specialist, or to be that go-to person? Who do you have to become? Do you have to wake up a little bit earlier each day? Maybe that's when you're doing that research, because I know life is busy and you don't have a lot of time. I get it. So how do you create that time? Well, there's no such thing as creating time. There's only 24 hours in a day. So you have to create more space for the time that you have. Maybe it means going to bed a little bit earlier and waking up a little bit earlier. Or maybe it means going to bed a little bit later and still waking up a little bit earlier. What do you want? Who do you have to become? Do you have to start being more intentional about the meetings that you take, the lunch meetings that you take? I can tell you that a lot of the things, if you were to add up what you do on a day-to-day basis and just write down what you're doing minute by minute, you're checking emails, great. That took you 15 minutes. Awesome. What are you doing next? I'm making some phone calls. Write that down. How long did it take you? And if you were to add up how many productive hours you've actually used in the day, actually productive hours and subtract all the other time when you're simply eating or gossiping, talking, whatever it is, right? Scrolling social media without intention, right? There is an intentional use of social media, but if you're just mindlessly scrolling to be entertained, are you 8 episodes into your favorite reality show, but you're not 8 chapters into a book yet? Be more intentional with the time that you're spending. It's important for you. It's necessary. I would tell you that if you want to be successful in this business and you want to be one of the real estate agents still standing when it's all said and done, you have to master these 3 things. Master your mindset, master your market, and master the mechanics. Become a master at your craft, and you will see success. Thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to seeing you out there, maybe at EXPCon in October.
All right, Michael Collier, that was amazing. So good. So it was, you guys, I hope that you have notes. And if you need to go back, you can absolutely come back to the stream and rewatch that. Take those notes because that was absolutely valuable. So, all right, my friends, we've got one more for you today. Next up, to bring you the energy, we're going to bring in Andy Rosas from The Habit Guys. And Andy's going to teach you about how you can be a part-time agent and a top producer. So let's toss it over to Andy Rosas.
Agents, listen up. You're beating yourself up with the dream of, am I ever going to transition into real estate full-time successfully? Because you're trying to, yet you're hiding from work. You're not spending enough time with your family, and it's just not a lot of fun. And people are telling you out there, you just got to go all in, but that's kind of scary when you're in the transition. You want to make that jump. The income is not there. You need some stability to still maintain your family while you're trying to transition into real estate full time. I get it. Don't worry. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly a replicatable 2-step process that you're going to transition into real estate, not only successfully, but also have a fun time doing it. Okay, we got to stop stressing this out. My name is Andy Rosas. I am the co-founder of The Habit Guys, where we teach agents better habits, because when we change your habits, we change your outcomes. Everything else changes. So now what I want you to do is just take out a piece of paper and a pen and start thinking about this. It's very simple, but do not confuse simplicity with, oh, I want to. Don't underestimate how simple this is. 2 keys to dominate as a part-time agent. Here's what you got to do. First thing you have to do is you have to become a scheduling ninja. We call this the truest week in our coaching program called Habit University, where we teach our students, you need to find out, what does your truest week look like? What does that mean? Psychologically, mentally, you're imagining a world of how your day's going to go. Part-time working, part-time dad or mom, part-time husband or wife, and then doing real estate part-time. And then I'm going to do some closings, and then I'm going to have some paychecks come in, and then I'm going to quit my job. That sounds easy until you actually start doing it and realize how chaotic your schedule is and how you're being pulled back and forth into different directions. And then you ultimately burn out, your relationships suffer, you get divorced, you don't know your kids anymore, you're chasing deals, you have commission breath. It is an awful experience. You don't want that. So you have to put on paper, Monday through Sunday, your truest week. What does that mean? It's very simple. It's hour by hour your day. So you'll put 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to, write down the entire day. And I want you to break down your week into 3 major categories. Okay? 3 major categories. So write this down. You're going to write down, okay, how much time am I spending in my job? All right. And in real estate. You have to be very clear. So if you work a 9 to 5 job, okay, then you put 9 to 5 job, and then you're going to put either 6 to 7 p.m. or 6 to 8 p.m. real estate. Okay. You're going to get very black and white about this. You need to know how much time you're going to spend on your job or your other business or whatever it is you're doing part-time, so you can see how much time you're going to be able to actually spend on real estate. Okay. So write that down hour by hour. How much time am I going to spend on real estate? How much time am I going to spend on my job? That's the first thing you're going to write down. The second theme you're going to write down is how much time am I going to spend with my relationships, with my family, with my friends, right? How much time am I going to spend with my wife, with my kids, my family, my friends, church, right? The groups, whatever I'm a part of. You got to put that down as well. Put down, okay, date night with my wife, every Thursday. Homework time with the kids or baseball with whatever you're doing. You're going to write down specifically what time are you going to be spending with those relationships. It's going to be on weekends or weekdays. You got to write it out. Write out how much time. And the third box is going to be how much time for yourself. Okay. Yourself is very important as well. The gym, it could be meditation, mindfulness, working out. It can be your church group. It could be journaling. It can be whatever you're doing. Your practice for yourself. Okay, playing soccer, whatever you plug into. Because I love soccer, so I love it. Monday nights, 8:00. You better believe I'm playing soccer. All right, love it. That's where it charges me up. It fires me up. So now Monday through Sunday, you're seeing three things. How much time am I spending in my job and in real estate? How much time am I spending with my family and my loved ones? Okay, relationships. And my third thing, how much time am I spending with myself, with my creator, with, reflection time, recharging time, like time for me. Okay. So those three pillars right there, you need to write it out. So that's going to be your truest week. You're going to, for the first time ever, now have a reality check as to how much time are you really going to dedicate to real estate. You'll be surprised. Two things are going to happen. One is going to be like, whoa, I have a lot more time than I thought. Okay, I can do this. This is going to be great. I'm going to be able to put more time into real estate than I thought. This is awesome. I love it. Some of you are going to realize, man, I must be on some sort of drugs or something because I was out of my mind. I only have 1 hour a day to make $1 million a year. That's what my dream was, but I have to make 600 calls or all these numbers a day and this and that. How am I going to do this in showings and negotiating and So you're going to realize it's going to be a reality check of, okay, let me start to simmer down and be real with what I'm doing here. And then you're going to see, wait a minute, am I going to be able to maintain this with my family as well? There's not enough time with my family, not enough time with me. Because remember, guys, don't just jump into real estate part-time and then, I'm just going to burn the boats and that's it. And then you don't close you don't close for 3 months, 6 months, or a year. And then you're going to be stressed out, miserable, chasing leads around, and you don't want to live that life. So you want to be able to look at your truest week to be able to say, okay, I can dedicate an hour or 2 hours a day. I can do this. And then show this to your husband, your wife, your family, and show, hey, this is my plan of what I intend on doing. And you get buy-in from everybody around you. Your wife and kids or husband might tell you, you know what? We should spend some more time together, but what about this? What about that? So everyone's on the same page. So you don't feel the stretch and the pull of being pulled into different places. And so there's no better peace of mind knowing that everyone in your household is on the same page, as opposed to not telling them. And then you're working late hours or times are overlapping and you're not clear as to how much time that you are going to spend with them. And it gives them things to look forward to in the future, because they may not see you Monday, Tuesday, but Wednesday's date night and they're looking forward to it because they can count on you because you have it written out. Everyone loves that because now you're being clear. Okay. So your truest week. Now you're able to have a plan of like, this is my ideal week. Now things may shake and bake. It's not going to happen, right? Did I say shake and bake? I did. Things are going to shake. I don't know why I say shake and bake. That's from the movie Talladega Nights. Yeah, it is. But there you go. Things are going to shake. Things are not going to be perfect. So just like this video, it's perfect timing, right? So you're going to be able to see now and look, you know what? I'm not going to probably be able to do as much as I thought, or I can do more than I thought. So truest week, map it out. Okay. And share it with the family. Second thing, is going to piggyback onto this. If you don't have much time, now for those of you that have a lot of time, you're good. You'll be a part-time agent. You can do showings, you can do contracts, you can do all that stuff because you have the time. And if people call you, you can move your schedule around. Great. But for those of you that are saying, Andy, how am I going to do both? My job, my family, I only have 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day to do real estate. How am I going to do this? Don't worry. You're going to be a referral agent. What does that mean? It's simple. You don't do contracts. You don't do showings. You don't do negotiating, none of that. You just become a referral agent where you just connect with people. So your 1 hour, 2 hours a day, or the time on the weekend that you only have, okay, you're going to dedicate that to prospecting, connecting with people, getting leads. And then you're going to pass those leads on to trusted agents in your neighborhood. With EXP, we have them all over the world. So you'll just reach out, build a network with trusted referral agents. And that's what I do with my team. I get leads and I push them on and I collect my 25, 35% referral fee. Boom, I'm good. And I'm sticking to coaching and building my teams. And that's what I focus on. And that's it. I don't want to do showings, contracts. I don't have time for that. That's not what I want to do. Same thing with you part-time agents. You don't have to do everything is what I'm giving you permission to understand. You can just pass deals to other realtors. And this is going to be beautiful for you. Why? Because this is sustainable. Yes, you won't make as much money, but you know what? You'll be a lot happier in the process because you're not chasing deals down. A buyer calls you, hey, I want to see your property tomorrow. And then you have to hide from your boss. You have to duck low. You got to change everything around. You got to cancel this, cancel that, because you're running a business and you got a job. It's going to be very stressful and that's not sustainable. So at first, we recommend our coaching students, you do part-time because in 1 hour a day, oh my gosh, you can do so many calls, so many conversations, so many conversions, so many closings and build it. And it's sustainable. You're having fun in the process because you're clear with your truest week that guess what? I'm spending time with my wife and kids, my family, myself, my creator, my business. And you can do that for the next year or two and then give yourself more time to make that transition and have fun in the process. Because you all know, if you're not having fun in the process, guys, it's just not sustainable. And that's what we teach in our programming with our students, with habits and all of that. So now you know, guys, it's very simple. Map out your truest week. If you're a part-time agent, you're going to map out your truest week, your ideal week of what you're going to do in your business, in your job, in your relationships, and in yourself, to yourself. Theme it out. How much time do you have? Audit that, okay? And share it with your family and friends so everyone's on the same page. And the second, if you don't have much time, you will be a referral agent. Collect your 25, 35% for sending leads to other agents and have them do the showings. They do the contracts. They do the negotiating. They do all of that. You guys do that. And I collect my check on payday. And that's it. Save up a couple deals. You have a better nest egg, and then you can be more aggressive in your real estate business. Guys, my name is Andy Rosas, co-founder of The Habit Guys. Thank you for plugging in. If you want more free resources, I'm going to put up right below. Go to habitguys.com/free, where we have a ton of free resources, scripts, routines to get you to go from part-time agent to full-time agent, not just successfully, but actually having fun in the process. Take care, guys. God bless you.